Hi guys, here we are, Jewel Loom School Live. I'm super excited to be here this week. For Jules, she is busy making those gorgeous kits. So I am super excited to be back for today and to do this great project with you. We are actually going to be doing an earring using the items from the Sedona Springs Hat Band kit. And Jules was showing you a bracelet. So this is a very versatile kit. So if you get a chance, if you haven't picked it up, check it out, guys. There's some beautiful seed beads in there. Really enjoyed it. So we're going to do that today. I hope everyone is doing well. Let me say hello to some of our friends here. There's Danielle. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Robin, Maria. Oh my goodness, everybody's coming in. So welcome in, everybody. As always, I am here on behalf of Jules today, but I do have a business called Pink Poodle Jewelry Studio, and I do lives for that as well on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I have a YouTube channel and all social media, so if you get a chance, check that out. But most importantly, make sure you head over to the YouTube channel if you're not already there, subscribe, give a thumbs up for Jules, and always make sure to like and share for her as well, guys. There's lots of information on the Jewel Loom page, the YouTube page. That's where all of those videos live that we have done over time, all of us. So check that out for sure. And don't forget to stop over at jewelloom.com. Today, like I said, we're going to be doing our earring, and I'm going to turn the camera down here and show you what I've got going on. Hello, everyone coming in. So nice to see you. And as you know, it'll take just a moment for my camera to flip. Don't get too worried. It will get there. It's been taking a little bit longer than usual, but we will make it work, right, guys? And there's Zach. Hi, Zach. Shaquita or Shakita. Hello and welcome. Okay, so today is going to be using the Baby Jewel Loom, one of our favorites. This is a great loom to do earrings on. It works out so perfectly. You can get your 2 earrings on here without much trouble at all, and you're not wasting a bunch of wildfire doing it. So what I have here, guys, I have the pattern. Now this PDF is available, and you can just use the paper PDF and print it out or use it on the screen. What I did is I'm using the PDF on my iPad. This is my favorite way to do patterns because for me personally, I'm getting older. I can't see like I used to be able to see. So this enables me to go ahead and blow these patterns up so I can really see what's happening here. So for me personally, this works great. So we're going to start out by warping our baby loom. And I just have some wildfire here. This is the color gray, but you can use whatever colors you enjoy. And I'm just going to start that off of the roll. I'm leaving it on the roll while we go ahead and warp. And I'm just going to take the end of this and I'm going to wrap it around this knob on the back 2 or 3 times. And I'm going to give this 2 or 3 knots, okay? Just to make sure we're good and secured. Oops. Before we get started. Our pattern is 13 beads wide, so if you don't know, that means that we need 1 more warp than we have bead. So we're going to have to do 14 warps for this pattern. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. We have it nice and secured on the back there. And I'm going to take it up and I'm just going to lay it into one of our grooves. Okay, hopefully my camera stays focused for us. I'm going to move that over just a hair. There we go. And it doesn't matter. You just pick the spot. And I'm just going to lay that in approximately the same area into one of those grooves on the other side. And keeping tension on this wildfire, I'm bringing it around to get to that other knob on the back. And my first warp, I always pull nice and snug and wrap it around at least 3 times. Because for me personally, when I use wildfire, I usually have the problem of my first warp getting loose. So this seems to help out a lot when using wildfire for me personally. Then we're going to go into every group. Any tips for making sure your grooves align straight? You mean, I'm not sure what you mean there. You might want to elaborate that for me just a little bit, Terry, if you can. We're going to go into the next groove because we were using 11 O's. So we're going to want to make sure and be into that next groove. So we have just the right space. And I'm taking that across, laying it in the other groove, giving that a couple wraps. When I'm starting, you will see that every so often. Oh, aside from counting them out, Tricia. I don't really. I eyeball my first one, my grooves here, to avoid being cattywampus. I eyeball my first grooves, but as far as if you want it exact, you would have to count that to get them both exact. As far as making sure you're getting into the right grooves as you're warping, with this one, it's pretty easy because you know you're doing every one, but you just have to make sure and pay close attention if you're skipping like 3 to 5, 3, 2 or something, that you're counting. And that's the best advice I can give you. Make sure you're counting your grooves and that everything is going in there. I just need to have faith my OCD gets. Yes, you do, dear, and you do wonderful work, and you will do just fine. So I'm going to go into the next groove. This is our third time across here. And as I'm doing this, guys, I'm keeping tension on this. Really good tension. Wrapping it around. Back up into the next groove. And we want this to be nice and tight because that's what's going to make your life so much easier when you are beading, that you have a nice tight warp. And then we're going across to the same warp. Pop that back in there. Okay, so here's this side. Sorry. And then we're going across to that side. Wrap around that knob on the back. Up and over. Into the next groove. Okay. And along the way, if I lose count as I'm going, I stop right then and there and I count to make sure I know where I'm at. Okay. So we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across there. Don't be afraid to do that. So you know you're staying right on track. Okay. Going into 6. Okay. And lay that into 6 on the other side. And around, back up into 7. Around the knob, back up into 8. Around and back up into 9. And you can see how quickly this comes together once you start getting your rhythm. And here's 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. And we only need 14 across, but I'll tell you what I always do, guys. I put my last one on that I think is my last one. I wrap around about 3 times on that knob and hold that with my fingers on the back. And then I have this little tool, which is quite handy, just as a little needle tool. And I go across and I make sure that everything is where I want it to be. And I can see this one needs popped in and that I have the right number of warps. So there's 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14. So we did perfect. But these little tools are really neat for, like, if you have a string that pops over, you can just grab it and pop it right back, or for counting, anything like that. So now that I have wrapped this around about 3 times on the back, I'm going to hold that there and I'm going to cut the thread. I'm still holding that there because I don't want that string to come back and let go. That's the last thing we want to do. Okay. And then we're just going to tie. I'm going to tie these 2 strings that I have here together. Just tie a couple knots as I'm holding that tension. Once you get the first knot in, you can relax on the tension a little bit. There you go. You got your first knot on. And then I'm just going to tie that 2 more times, just making sure everything's going to stay where I put it. Okay. So we got that. And then I just cut these strings shorter because they will interfere with me on the front and I don't care for that. So I'm going to show you something today too, guys, something really cool that my husband came up with. And I know, let me raise this up just a smidge and I'm going to show you this cool little tool he made me. This is a loom holder, and I know it's really hard to see right like this, but I'll be sure to show you at the end. And this is just about as simple as it could get, but it has been so awesome for looming for me. So it's just this little setup. It has a little hook on the back. He just put in some rubber bands. And all you have to do is take your rubber band around your loom. This works with the original loom and the baby loom. I have not tried it on any of the wood looms yet, but I just thought he did such a cool job. I wanted to show everyone. So that goes around just like that. And then you're going to take this rubber band that's on the bottom and just bring it underneath the wood and hook it onto the little knobs here. And you have a third hand, basically. So I'm going to put this into a good perspective so you can see how I'm working here. There you go. You should be able to see really clear and it won't bounce around. And what I'm going to do, guys, I showed you the pattern. So for those that work from the top down, you would just leave your pattern as is because I want to do this first flower here. That's what we're going to do for our pattern. So I'm just going to turn this over. I just locked my iPad so I can just work from the bottom up instead because you all know that that's what I like to do. And then I'm just going to pour out some of my seed beads that I have here. And we have some gorgeous colors. I am going to substitute the peach, I can't remember what it's, peach cobbler. I did have to substitute that with the opaque luster beige because I was out of the peach cobbler. And then I did also have to substitute Ceylon Aqua for the glacier. So that tells you if you ran out of one or the other, you can just swap out with what you have in your stash and just make it your own. So I'm just going to put a little bit of each one out here. So when I'm ready, I can just grab them. Okay. Scooch that back just a hair so you can see better. Right. There we go. Okay, so we have a little bit of everything. I did thread my needle off camera. Hi, Leanne. So great to see you. So I threaded my needle. I did about a wingspan and a half worth of thread. And we are going to be using these slide end clasps. So we can put a little knot there and it's not even going to show. Okay, where we start. So I'm just going to go in here between the first and second, warp, and just tie my string. I'm going to leave myself quite a bit of thread there, so when I want to finish it off, I can show you a technique that I have learned and I like doing at the end of these type of projects. So we're going to leave, I would say, at least 18 to 24 inches there to mess with, okay? And then we're going to take our, and that's this string, the other string, not the one you're going to be working with, okay? That's just going to go to the side. And now we're ready. So what I did first, guys, is I put just a row across of the glacier or the Ceylon aqua beads, because that's going to be covered up with my slide clasp, and it doesn't matter how pretty it is. It's just going to be utilized to make sure everything's nice and secure. So we're going to pick up 13 of our Ceylon aquas, our pretty blue here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay, and I'm just going to drop those beads down so they're right where I want them there on the loom. Okay, I'm going to feed my needle and thread underneath, just like so, and I have my third hand there, so I'm good to go. I don't have to balance the loom or anything. And I'm just going to feed these up. Now, keep in mind, guys, whenever you are doing your first row of any wildfire projects, it may be a little wonky getting all of your beads in the right spots on that first row. It's just you're getting your threads where you want them with your beads, and it can just, they can kind of move here or move there. So just take your time, pop it in that first row. And usually what I'll do is start on this side, on the right side, and then work across with my needle. And that seems to work well for me. So I'm coming underneath, up and over, and we're going to go through the beads over top of the warps. And as I'm going across, I'm just going to be popping these beads up. Now they have to be on top. Make sure your beads are popped over top. So when you're locking them in, they stay, and you do not have to worry about them dropping out, because they will drop out if they don't get caught correctly. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way across, and as I'm going, I see I have kind of a thread doubling up here a little bit. So I'm going to spread that out and get my next bead where it needs to be, which is in between those, and that's when this little tool will come in handy again, just to kind of split that out for you. Go there and then work across. I don't know about everyone else, but this is what takes me some time, is getting this first row in my wildfire of my beads into my wildfire warps. Okay, so we got 2 pop there, so we want to take that off. But it's like once you get your first row in, then you can just cook with gas, because all the threads are where they need to be. That one needs popped up. Okay. And we'll go across here and out through the other side. So now they are all separated where they need to be. The third hand is cool. Thank you. My husband's brilliant. I just, like all husbands, they can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but he is brilliant when it comes to stuff like this. So I just did 1 row of the Ceylon Aqua, just so we can make sure and have that spot for our slide clasp to go onto. So I'm going to just set this here so you can kind of see the pattern a little bit better. And I'm just going to start on this row, bottom row here. And as I said, I flipped mine over. You guys, if you work from the top down, make sure that you keep it right side up so the letters are up and down correctly. I'm backwards. That's just me. I'm backwards in everything, right? So it stands to reason. So I'm just going to follow my pattern here, and I'm going to pick up an A, C, B, 3 more A's, okay, a D. This beautiful pumpkin color is so gorgeous. Love it. 3 more A's. Okay, a B, a C, and 1 more A. So that is our first row. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to drop these beads down over our needle and drop them down to the bottom here. I'm going to feed my needle and thread underneath those warps, just like so. Now, I know Jules likes to feed her thread and needle underneath first, pick up her beads, and then pop them in. This is just the way I like to do it, guys. You'll make your own way with the way you like to do it as well, I'm sure. So we're just going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to pop them up through that wildfire, and we're going to be locking them in and making sure that they are where we need them, which is through the wildfire and up over the top. Okay. All right, so I'm just going across, making sure I got all of those in where I needed it. I am going to scooch this up just a hair because my hand keeps hitting it. And then we're just going to pull that through. I think the head on my needle is a little bigger than I usually like, but we may have to change the needle out. We'll see here. And it's just, it's weird how that works sometimes. It just seems like the head of the needles don't want to go through the 11s, or maybe it's just user error, but I've found that with a lot of different needles that's the case. So I like to just give the needle head just a little squeeze if I can, and it would just get it to be a little smaller to go through my beads better. Okay, so now we are on to the next row. Make sure you guys can see this. There we go. And we have 2 A's. And I'm just going to roll this screen down as I go to the next row because I'm the one that would redo a row if I don't do that. So we had 2 A's, a C, a B, an A, a D, an E, and a D, an A, B, C, and 2 more A's. Let's see, how are we doing? It's all good, Tricia. Thank you. You know me. Hot Mess Express coming through. Could I also use the tiny wood earring looms to make these earrings? Yes, you definitely could do that. Most definitely, because they have the same grooves, or the same, they have not grooves, but they have the I guess they do have grooves. Yes, they have grooves, but they're just made differently. So yeah, you could certainly use that. I didn't get any coffee today, guys, either, so I'm sorry for that. Ahead of the game. You never know, but so we're going to pull that through, and that did go through much easier that time when I just pinched that head of that needle just a smidge. Okay, go to the next row. 3 A's. Yes, use what you have, honey. That would be perfect for it. I've been really doing a lot more seed beading and looming with seed beads lately. I've been making all kinds of characters and things like that, and I've been really enjoying it. And I was like, I swore off of seed beads when I first started beading. I swore off of them. I'm like, don't you think for one moment that I'm going to be a seed beater, because I will never be. Well, never say never, guys, on anything. So, and then 3 more A's. And there we go. We're going to drop those down. Needle under, pulling that thread through, and then we're going to pop our beads up into it. And these earrings come together really quick because it's a nice, easy pattern. And it just, they're small. They're only one section of the pattern. So they're super fun. You could knock a lot of these out quickly. Say if you wanted to give, make a gift for someone or something, and if you didn't think that these colors coordinated with what you wanted, you could swap out for whatever you had in your stash. Okay, so next row. We're going to do 2 A's. 2 D's. A C, an A, a D, an A, C, D, D, A, A. Okay. So same thing, we're going to drop those down. Send that needle and that thread underneath. Pop those beads in. I'm going to make sure my threads are pulled here because I see a little loop there. So I'm going to go in here with my needle and I'm just going to pull this thread snug on that end and then pull it in across. So now everything's nice and even and not showing, loops out the side of the pattern. And we're just going to pop those in, going across. Oops, I see a mistake. I got one extra bead on there. Hold on one second, guys. Yes, I correct beads. We all know this, right? So I'm just going to feed those up in now because I have the right amount. And go across, pushing up in, sliding your needle through the beads, making sure everything's getting secured in there. You're not missing any of them. And then pull through. Okay, next row. That was our center row that we just did there. Okay, so now we're on the downside of the pattern. So we're going to do A, D, E, E, D, C, E, C, D, E, E, D, and an A. Okay. Get that one across. And needle through the top. You're going up and over and through the beads. Now I can see here one of my threads aren't caught there, so I want to make sure that that is caught. So I just move that over, making sure that it's where it needs to be. And if you do miss any threads as you're working on it, you can go back through and tighten everything up if need be. Okay. So the next row we have is B. I'm going to look up my pattern I did already and make sure we're on track here. Yep, looking good. Okay. It's our center, so we're going to do B, A, D, D, A, C, A, C, D, C. That is exactly what that says right there, guys. AC/DC. Oh, goodness. I crack myself up. That's about the only person I crack up, but we do. You gotta have fun with it, right? A and B. Hi, Melanie. Welcome in, sweetie. So good to see you. And it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 more rows. So we're almost there. It doesn't take a whole lot of beads to do these either, which is great because you can just use your leftovers from the kit. Okay. A, C, D, E, D, C. Does anyone else say their letters out loud as they're going across? Just to stay on track. B, A. And like I said, using the iPad this way just makes all the difference for me. Okay, so one more go here. All right. And 2 more rows. B, A, C, B, D, E, D, C, A, and B. This is so zen, seed beading. I just love it. Not only seed beading, but seed beading on the loom. It's a great combination. make sure we have. And I have an extra B. Again, we're going to go in and just crack that baby off. Careful when you're doing that. Make sure you cover it. If you want to go back and take all of the beads off and, you know, put them all back on, that is completely up to you guys. But it makes my life a lot easier just to do it that way. So we're just going to put that through. And then do our last row. Got a little knot here starting, so we're going to have a little conversation with him just to make sure it doesn't get too crazy. There we go. There we go. We're good. Okay, back that up just a smidge. All right, so let's do our last row. Well, our last row of pattern, and then we're going to do a row of our Ceylon Aqua for the end, for the clasp, or for the slide clasp. So there's that, A, C, B, A, D, A, B, C, A. Yeah, this is such a pretty pattern, Melanie. It's gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to lock this row in. And then we're going to pick up 13 of our Ceylon Aqua beads for the end, just like we did on this side. And 13. All right, so pop those up and in. And there we go. We have our row for our slide class to go over. So I'm going to shut this for now, since we are done with that for the moment. Set that over here. Now we're going to tie this off, and we're going to make this so we can put our slide clasp on easily. So I'll show you up here at the top what I like to do. I like to go back and forth with my needle through all of the warps a few times. Okay, so we're just going to go back and forth. Having trouble seeing that for some reason. There we go. Different angle. Okay, we're just going to weave back and forth through the warps with our needle and thread. Boy, I think it's time to go to the eye doctor. All right, so I go across one time. Pull that through, and then I'm going to go back again. Going back and forth. On my warps. And you you can do this 2 or 3 times just to kind of get everything secured there. And then what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm just going to take, let me make sure this is tight enough here. There we go. That'll be better. And then we can pull this. We're going to use our little tool again. I just want to make sure all of my rows are snug and all the loops are in. And I'm just making sure, covering all my bases. There we go. So that's tight. And there we go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle and thread. Hello, I'm new here, but just getting back into jewelry making. Well, welcome in, Stacy. So great to see you. I'm going to go up between the first 2 threads, between the second and third thread, because I'm going to be doing this every 2 threads. Okay, I'm going to come up between there, and I'm going to take my needle up through this loop, and I'm going to give it a tie, and we're going to tighten that down right too, and we're going to do this 2 times per 2 threads. Okay. Without getting your other threads mixed up in there. You don't want to have a big thready mess, that's for sure. So we're doing the same thing, just tightening down again. And then I'm going to go over to the next 2 threads. I'm going to go around those. The tool with the white handle. This is just a little tool I got from the Dollar Tree. I think it's for vinyl. But it works really well for looming and seed beading and working with wildfire. So it's like $1.25 at the Dollar Tree, and it works great. All right, so I'm going to tie off the next 2 twice. And continue across. You're welcome, Stacy, no problem. And I'm just going to go quickly across here, tying 2 knots per 2 threads. And we're getting a nice secure hold there. With our threads. And now you're probably realizing why I left the thread longer on the starting thread there. It's so we can tie off like this on there as well. Okay. And our last 2 up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to go back through a row or 2 with my needle and thread, so I can tie this off down inside our work. So I'll get over here probably about halfway through this next row. Pop my needle up and out right beside that middle one. Give it a little pull with my pliers to get it through. Snug with the 11/0s for sure. Yeah, we have a little bit of problem with that thread there, or with that bead there, not wanting to let the needle through. So we're going to try to back it out here. There we go. Got it. Now it did crack one of the beads off, but that's okay. I can go back and pop that out, or pop that back in. But for time purposes, we'll just do this right now. And that's the problem when you get a needle maybe that has a little bit bigger head than you're used to. It will pop your beads. So live and learn. So we're going to take that up and through there and tighten that off around that warp. Okay. And I'm going to do that twice. All right, and now I have that tied off underneath. I'm just going to come in here with my pliers or my trimmers and cut that off. And then we're going to work our way across the other side the same way. And we have this thread already here that we left a nice long piece, so we can do the same thing. Just want to get this needle put onto the thread. Sometimes easier said than done, right, guys? All right, so we're putting that onto the bottom thread now. And we're going to start by doing the same thing. We're going to weave back and forth. This technique gives you a very secure hold, guys. I'm really liking doing this in all the pieces, the seed bead pieces I'm making. Okay, back and forth. And then we're going to work our way across, tying off our warps. You want to make sure this ties where it needs to, guys, because if it gets a knot up above, that's not going to help you at all with doing what you're doing here. So I find that that can happen sometimes, that the loop gets in the wrong position. But you have to work it down there so it's close to those threads before you pull nice and tight. Okay. There we go. Got that. The finishing work that you do on your pieces is just as important as making the pieces, if not more so, because you want to make sure that it's secure. So when one of your customers are wearing it, or a friend or family that you've gifted it to, they do not come apart. You don't want them being out on the dance floor and all these seed beads crumbling down. So definitely make sure that you do your due diligence when you're finishing off pieces, for sure. Okay. That goes for wildfire. That goes for when you're using wire, beading wire, regular wire, any of it. Okay. And then 2 more here, and that's it for the tying. Whew, getting warm in here. I'm gonna turn my little fan on. I hope you guys don't mind. Okay. And then we're just gonna go back. Hopefully we don't have to break any beads off this time. Back through our first row. I made my first loom bracelet the other day, a Christmas bracelet. Proud of myself. Now I definitely want to make more. Good girl. You got that licked, I'll tell you. So what I'm going to do here, guys, so I don't go up and crack another bead, I'm going to just tie it off here on the end of this blue row, because as I said, that's going to be encompassed in, it's going to be inside of our little slide clasp, so you won't even know it's there. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim. Now, we're going to cut this off. First off, I'm going to take it off of our little contraption my lovely husband made me. And move that out of the way. So when you're cutting off of the loom, you always want to make sure and secure your work. Get a good hold onto it. When you're going to trim, you're going to want to go to the back and use your trimmers and just start cutting across. Again, I'm supporting my loom. I'm supporting my work. Okay. Same thing here. These should pop right off, but if they don't, you can certainly trim them because we're not going to be using them anyway. So now that I have all of this off, this is the point where we would go ahead and glue. Okay, so you want to use your GS Hypo Cement and glue across all of your knots. For time purposes, we're not going to do that today because that's going to need to dry. Then I'm just going to go in and trim all of these threads because I know that it's secured well in there and it's glued. Okay. I'm just going to trim those off. Just like so. And then I'm just going to take, let me get these strings off here, my little side clasp that fits on here. I'm going to open the end up just like so. And I'm going to put it down and around that blue row of beads. All right. And I want to get that to make sure that that's going to slide onto that wildfire underneath that row. And it's very imperative. Okay. And you just work your way across. For some reason, it's giving me a hard time. So we're going to try this way. It's always when you're on camera, you know. That's how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to slide right across. So just work your way across by sliding in the last row of seed beads that you did. And then close your top and do it the same thing on the other side. And you have a perfectly cute set of earrings. Haircut time. Yeah, that's right, guys. That's right. So that gives you another option for your Sedona Springs Hat Band pattern. Let me turn my camera around here. Hey, here we are. Yeah, so I want to show you this while I have it this way too, so you can kind of see that that's what I was working with. this has just ended up being so wonderful for me. So if you have a handy guy at home, get him to make you one of these. So that's it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed tonight. I loved being back on Jewel Loom School Live. I have always enjoyed it so much, and I love seeing all of your familiar faces, and it's wonderful. Don't forget, guys, every Thursday at 3 p.m., I am live with Pink Poodle Jewelry Studio. I also have all of my social media in the link tree down below. You can visit that, like, share, subscribe. All would be greatly appreciated. And as always, it was so lovely to see you. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.